Hey, welcome back to the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge, and today we have Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Yes, I know that shirt was a Episode 1 shirt, but surprisingly I have an Episode 1 and an Episode 3 shirt, but not an Episode 2 shirt. I don't get it either, unless I lost it. I have no idea. Anyway, obviously, yes, anybody who knows me knows that I'm a humongous Star Wars fan since the very beginning. I was there. Yeah, I'm that old. I was there, and when it all started. And one of the greatest moments of my life was knowing that, oh my gosh, I'm going to see new Star Wars movies after 16 years of having no hope whatsoever of seeing Star Wars. Now, we're talking about the prequels. We want, I think anybody who wanted to see more Star Wars, they would have taken anything they could have gotten. Didn't matter. Did not matter. True fans, should I even say that? Oh, true fans. It's that whole gatekeeping thing. I don't want to do that. Fans wanted to see Star Wars, no matter what it was. They could have gone in the future, but we always wanted to see the story also of Anakin, the story of the rise of Vader. We wanted to see where it all came from, the Clone Wars, everything else. And yes, the prequels have gotten a lot of garbage thrown at them, a lot of bile just written about them over the years. There is a devout number of people who absolutely are in love with the prequels. And I can't say that I'm like the ultra fan of the prequels, but I appreciate them for what they are. They have good and bad in each of them. I'm gonna be, that's as nice as I can put it. The story that I want is there. How it was executed maybe wasn't exactly the way I wanted it to be, but it's not my story to tell. It's my story to experience. It's my choice whether to like it or not, and I choose to enjoy it. I choose to like it. Where Episode 1 has always consistently been considered the worst of the prequel trilogies, there are some people who make a challenge against that and say that Episode 2 is the worst. Why do we have to focus on the worst? Why can't we focus on the best? Episode 3 is the best, only because we get the payoff that we've always asked for. Episode 2 has a very certain specific purpose, and I'm going to talk about that. I'm not going to nitpick. There's so much to nitpick. There's so many little things to complain about in this movie. So many little dumb things that we notice, little plot holes or little dialogue bits that, yeah, dialogue. Not great, especially when it comes to the romantic bits that builds the relationship between the parents of Luke and Leia. Yes, somebody else should have written that stuff, maybe. I don't know. Or just quality assurance did that, the heck out of it. I don't know. The actors, by the way, are great actors. You know Natalie Portman's a great actor, and maybe you haven't seen enough of him in other stuff since Star Wars pretty much obliterated his career from all the muck that's been thrown at him. But Hayden Christensen in the other stuff that he's done is actually pretty great. So I would never blame those guys on their performances. They worked with what they had. I love you, George. I love you so much. But yeah, maybe the chemistry may not just have been there. Let's just say that. And the dialogue that was used to flirt may not have been the best. So that's, I'm going to try to get rid of all the negativity here because I love Star Wars. And let's talk about the purpose of Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. It is the second part of a trilogy, and of course also in the structure of any story usually most stories have 3 acts, and this is the second act. This is the big turn. This is where, just like Empire Strikes Back, the heroes don't necessarily win. Of course, in this one, Yoda has to pretty much tell us that even though we thought we won, we really didn't win. Victory? It's not really a victory, the galaxy has been pushed into war. It's no longer just a bunch of people trying to secede from the Republic because they have qualms about things. They now have an army to back their secession. They're just rebellion in a sense, but they're pushed away from the Republic to wanting to have control over their worlds because they feel they're being ignored by the Republic itself, and it's thousands of worlds leaving. Imagine thousands of states trying to secede from the United States. That there's no thousands of states, but relatively it's a lot. Yeah, there's metaphor throughout this, but when it comes to this story, this is pretty much has a number of layers. One is the dissolution of the Republic and the building, the setup towards war that will allow the Empire to take hold, for darkness to take hold, for people to give up their freedoms in order to pretend they have rights, in order to pretend they've gained rights, put rights in their own hands. Let's just say they believe that. Instead, they give it to a tyrant, Lord Tyrannus. Not Lord Tyrannus. That's Count Dooku. They give it to Darth Sidious, who's insidious in all he does. His names are not accidental. They're corny a little bit, but yeah, they're not accidental. But we see the fall and the fall of the Republic, and the fall of a good man, a good Jedi, Anakin Skywalker, and that they're paralleled the whole way because they're undermined at every turn. And at the same time, I make sometimes I have a problem with Anakin when he's having problems, when everything's not going his way. He blames himself to a point, and then he just shifts it over to Obi-Wan. It's like, it's unfair. Obi-Wan did this. Obi-Wan said that. Obi-Wan thinks this. It's all his fault. And it's not really. Anakin was born and was raised to be a fixer. And that's all he ever did. He built things. Things that no human, at least where he was from, as a slave boy on Tatooine, has never been really, nobody's really done the kind of stuff he did. Flying a pod racer, it's not supposed to have, a human should not be able to do that. But again, the Force. But beyond even just the Force, he has an intuition with machines, and he knows how to fix things. He built C-3PO. He's the maker that 3PO always talks about. But one of the main things he wants to fix is his relationships, and he's so... These things are taken away from him, obviously. When not taken away from him, he gives them up. He gives up his relationship with his mom when he is freed from slavery to become a Jedi, to do something greater. The Jedi's plans on how to do that, they've been doing it for centuries, but it's still the idea of let's take kids from their families when they're really super young and indoctrinate them in the ways of the Jedi, the ways of the Force. And maybe that's not the best way, and we kind of learn that the Jedi are not necessarily corrupt, but in some cases inept, or at least blind to their own ways of thinking that just pretty much leaves an open space for the Sith, for the Empire to fill. They don't want to be soldiers. They're not soldiers. They're guardians. They're heroes. They're knights, where they do great deeds in the service of their country, their world, their planet, their galaxy. And so that's a noble thing for Anakin to seek out, but even as he knows his mom, he feels his mom is dying, and he eventually finds her and she dies in his arms, he can't fix that. And he so desperately wants to fix that. But even this fixer cannot, That's one thing. He can't fix the human condition of life and death. And then he, of course, as he falls for Padme more and more, he realizes, man, she's in danger a lot because she puts her neck on the line for the Republic. She's the very first opening scene, which is a beautiful, just ships just flowing through the clouds on an early morning on Coruscant. It just looks gorgeous. Anyway, there's an assassination attempt, and for a moment you think she might be killed in those first few moments, which is not going to be a thing because they got to make babies at some point. So he realizes she's in danger a lot, and his petulant attitude and his stunted growth, where he just grew up in the Jedi Order for the most part after being a slave. It's a slave to one thing and a slave to the next. Girls aren't part of that. Understanding your emotions and understanding your urges, I guess, especially when you've got, let's just say you're a passionate young man, and you're not supposed to be. And when you got somebody like Padme, who, one, you think you love, you're at least infatuated with her. It's that stability you kind of want from her when he couldn't have his mom. But of course, he was also, as soon as he left Tatooine and the whole battle and everything else, and went to Naboo and saw just how bold and heroic Padme was, they went to a party after the defeat of the Trade Federation, and he got a rat tail, and then was whisked off to Coruscant to become a Jedi Padawan. Didn't see her for 10 years. And yet he's thinking about her every day. From 9 years old to 19, he's just like, that's the girl. There's a female Jedi probably in your classes. I realize that Padme is a prime specimen. She's a smart, strong, just kick-ass, principled woman. Part of me thinks that he doesn't really care about that so much as going, she paid attention to me and she's hot. She's an angel, like when you're 9 and you got it all figured out. Yeah, but yeah, this movie, as I said before, it shows the corruption, the fall of the Republic into war, and the conflict within Anakin at the same time, where when he finds his mom, he just goes to town on those Tusken Raiders, where he sees other people, the people of all, just like people of all worlds, he's sworn to protect. You see the spark of him going, you know what, some of these people are just animals. They're beneath me. And they deserve to die. Men, women, and children. Screw them. When you're the noble knight and you have that attitude, that leads to some really dicey things. And you start slaughtering them. Well, then you tell your girlfriend or your pseudo-girlfriend. And again, the unconvincing relationship that they have and the motivations between them, it's just like, we know they're supposed to be together. Right now, give me some time. Maybe I could come up with a better script to build that relationship over seriously, just a matter of days. It's like, I haven't seen her in 10 years. Now I'm suddenly assigned to protect her. Now I got to take her to Naboo. And we have arguments in front of people. And you can see, all the people, like the Queen, Jamila, and other people that are just in there in the meeting, when they start sniping at each other, trying to take control of the decision-making, they're all just like, what's up with these guys? Do they like each other? They're really just rude. It's just rude. So, yeah, everybody around them recognizes it. And then they just realize she realizes they're gonna probably die in their, arena battle. It was a nice John Carter of Mars, and also, Roman, Lion's Den kind of, references there, but it's really a John Carter of Mars kind of reference there. She realizes they're gonna die, and she goes, well, you know what? I love you. I don't have to worry about it because we're probably going to die. We'll fight. But the odds are really good that they're going to get a good hit in, and we're not going to make it out of here because you ain't got a lightsaber, and I've got pickpocket tools to open my chains. That's about it. So, but of course, then, they escape, obviously. Again, we know that they're going to escape because that stuff has to happen in order for the original trilogy to happen. Let's say totally would have sideswiped us and said, you know what, he fell in love with one of her handmaidens. It looks just a lot like her. And she was the real mother. The queen was never Luke and Leia's parents. That would have been a crazy twist. But no, it's got to be Padme. And honestly, you know what? They never had a name for her or anything else until the prequel trilogy. What if Keira Knightley had been their mom? That would have been just... Is it Rabe or Sabe? Sabe died, right? No, Sabe... Whatever. One of them blew up at the beginning. And Sabe was still hanging out there at one point. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. The point of all of this is that Anakin believably starts getting a push toward the dark side, which will then give birth to Vader in the next film. It does that to a point. It succeeds to a point because we know that turn where, by the way, Yoda doesn't feel any dark side on Coruscant, but from across the galaxy, he feels Anakin going ham on all those Tusken Raiders. He's just like, that's pretty dark. Something's wrong. And yeah. By the way, Darth Sidious is like next door. He's in his office just a couple yards away, but we don't feel that. I'm sure there's an excuse for that. There's a reason for that. But still, the idea is that, yeah, Anakin's not hiding any of that stuff. So, but what this really leads to, though, is the fact that Attack of the Clones has some gorgeous freaking moments, beautifully shot. Not everything is dialogue perfect, obviously, but there are some gorgeous moments. The moment between Anakin and Dooku waving the lightsabers around, the lights flashing across their faces, how that is shot I kind of like really a lot. The final shot of the clone troopers being loaded into the starships and stuff like that with Jimmy Smits going, dang it, I didn't want this. This is going to be trouble. And, of course, Palpatine, like, this is what I wanted. This is it. This is how I'm coming to power. More so. Working on this for 10 years. Yeah. So yeah, that scene is amazing. It's a great closer. And that is almost a somewhat of a mirror, not really, to Empire Strikes Back, because Empire Strikes Back, the heroes have all lost. Luke is in recovery, and they stare as Lando and Chewie head off on the Falcon to take off and rescue Han from Jabba. In the end here, we see the beginning of something huge. It's kind of a cliffhanger, because we know that this is all going to pay off in Revenge of the Sith. But what this really leads to is probably one of the best things the prequels ever gave us is the Clone Wars. The Clone Wars animated series. Yeah, it absolutely is. Dave Filoni's and George's masterpiece. George is super involved, especially in the beginning, but it's between George Lucas and Dave Filoni's and their entire freaking crew. The Clone Wars is the best thing to come out of the prequel trilogy, especially specifically right after Attack of the Clones. So, yeah, somewhere in Attack of the Clones, somewhere in that Jedi Temple is a little Ahsoka Tano being trained, but suddenly Plo Koon and all the other guys have to head off to Geonosis to go into battle, and a bunch of them die. A bunch of Jedi die. There's like a dozen left at the end of that battle. Like a ton of people die in that battle. And you got to figure that she's comes back and she's like, hey, where's my teacher? Oh, yeah, died on Geonosis. Robots killed him. So little Ahsoka. Maybe that story should be told sometime. Was that not told? Was there any early pre-Clone Wars stories being told of Ahsoka? I don't think there was. You know what? They need an Ahsoka series. Let's see some really young Ahsoka and, of course, post-Clone Wars Ahsoka stories. Let's do that. Let's mix that up. I want that. Dave. Anyway, yeah. Attack of the Clones. The greatest achievement is creating the Clone Wars. And a lead-in to a better film. You can complain all you want about the dialogue and the acting and some of the incongruities, but I love the Coruscant moments. I love even Death Sticks. It's just dumb, funny kind of stuff. And you know what? I screamed and I was thrilled when Yoda right here in this scene essentially not just took that Force lightning from Dooku, but also just whipped out the lightsaber and just went to town like a little pinball all over the room. That, to me, was freaking cool. In retrospect, everybody's just like, oh, that's not the Yoda I know. That's not my Yoda. Still, he's been walking with a limp with a cane the entire thing. He's just messing with everybody. And he just goes to town on Dooku. And it's a draw. But he would have kicked his butt given enough time. The thing is, though, he... right after he's done with all that, he just force picks up the cane and just hobbles away. Back to being old Yoda. So, yeah, he's like really into the act. So, to wrap this up, this is a really long one, by the way. I tend to go long in these Star Wars things, even though it seems like everything that could be said about Star Wars has been said. Okay, I realize this. But I love Star Wars, and I'm going to keep talking about it. Excuse me. Anakin's story, yes. If not for the poor handling of the romance. Sorry. I almost want to try to rewrite it myself. I'm not the greatest writer in the world, but I want to almost see if that whole that whole arc could be better written. Still, the killing of the Tusken Raiders is important. Padme really handling it really well. Going, you know what? People are supposed to be angry sometimes. People get angry, yeah. You're allowed to be angry. But you maybe not want to be killing men, women, and children. Honestly, I don't want to think about the things that went on with Shmi in that camp for a month. But yeah, if he read on her mind the things that went down, and those things are things that you cannot talk about in a Star Wars movie, okay, yeah, maybe you want to kill all of them. Yeah, I'm pretty sure his anger was justified. Killing children, maybe not. Then he doubles down on it in the next movie, definitely not. Especially since they're innocent and they had no intention of hurting anybody. But it sets precedent. This movie necessarily it sets the precedent for him killing children in the later one, where if it just came out of nowhere, he's like, you know what, killing all the Jedi includes all the kids. Going from good guy to bad guy that quick. No, this is a stepping stone. The killing the children, the Tusken children, is definitely a stepping stone. So yeah, I could talk forever on this. You can talk back. I'm sure there's many things you Star Wars fans have to say about this film, and you have said it a lot. No, this is not my favorite Star Wars movie. There are fun moments. There are great moments. It's beautiful. The stuff shot in Italy, beautiful. I wish there had been more real practical stuff like that. And when there was so many things that could have been practical and in the real world that would have made this film so much better. But it served its purpose, getting Anakin from A to B, or A to C. This is the B. The Laurel and Hardy stuff with R2 and 3PO in the battle kind of undercut the intensity of the battle, but also gave it a focus because the battle is just so broad that it was really just noise for the most part. You needed to break it up with something, and comedy with robots seemed to be the thing. But yeah, Attack of the Clones is a thing, and it's necessary. It is definitely definitely a necessary film when you're watching the movies. People say you can skip episode 1, and technically you can in some ways, except for the Darth Maul parts. But it also introduces characters that you get to know in these films, even though Anakin's played by a totally different one between the two, in 1 out of 3. So, oh, you know what I really thought was really weird? When Obi-Wan, again, I love Ewan McGregor, but he started doing more of a Alec Guinness in this thing, obviously, because he's got the beard now, he's not so young. He's much more Alec Guinness at the beginning of this movie than he is at the end. He's a little more open. In the beginning, his mouth is much tighter. He's like, well, my young Padawan. He seems a little bit more uptight, like he's trying to do an impression, which I know was not his purpose at all. He made a point of that he wasn't trying to do an impression of Alec Guinness, but there's still elements of his performance in there like that. So anyway, I keep saying anyway. I gotta wrap this up. I'm hoping that since tomorrow is 5/25, that's the day that Star Wars first came into the world in 1977. Wouldn't it be great if I had another Star Wars movie? Wouldn't it be great if it was A New Hope? Oh, it's not going to happen, but wouldn't it be great? Let's see what happens. Come on. Let's do it, generation. Come on, generate something really close to 5. Oh, no, that's definitely not Star Wars. 690. This is way toward the end. Yeah. Well, on 5/25 Star Wars Day, the birthday of Star Wars, the true birthday of Star Wars. You know, you do the May 4th thing. Awesome. Great. May the 4th be with you. But 5/25/77 is the real birthday of Star Wars. 690, we've got The Wild. The Wild. I think I should know what that is. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, I've got a messy apartment. Okay. All right. We'll see you back here tomorrow with The Wild on the Disney Plus Everyday Challenge. This is the longest one we've had yet. 28 minutes. Oh my gosh. See you tomorrow. Bye.